I've been asked to explain what is behind going to Kivrei Tzadikim, the graves of righteous people. Many go to pray or to get some kind of enlightenment. People are wondering, what in the world is this about? I think that the first question that we have to deal with is, what does it mean, a righteous tzaddik? What does that mean? And then maybe we can move on to what does it mean, the grave of a righteous person. You have to understand what he did and what he accomplished to see, or she did, she accomplished, to see what the point of going to the grave of a tzaddik is. So a tzaddik, a person who's a righteous person, who really, really served God with all of his heart and every fiber of his being, we can't judge. We generally speaking, we can't necessarily look at somebody and say, this person is this kind of a righteous person, this person is that righteous person, this person, well, she really made it, she didn't make it. Someone who's on the level, like I had a teacher, he used to put it like this. He used to say, you watch basketball, right? And you love basketball. He said, but if you took the worst player in the NBA and put him in your basketball court, he's going to look like fantastic. He can dunk, he can shoot, he's got a very good, he's great. That's why he's in the NBA. But compared to anybody else in the NBA, he's really, really, in Yiddish we call it a schlepper, not the best player. He's trying to kind of just make the grade. He's always struggling, do we keep him, don't we keep him? It's he's the worst guy. So it's the same thing. You can't look at somebody and say, he's a tzaddik, she's a tzaddik, he's not a tzaddik, she's not a tzaddik. But we know that there are certain ways of understanding, getting an idea of what does it mean to be a tzaddik, what does it mean to be a great tzaddik. So the first thing, Rav Nachman's very clear about this idea, which is that there are many, many levels. Even as someone who made the grade of being a tzaddik, there are many, many levels of being a tzaddik. So he said the first level is, and that's why usually we can weed out the people who are okay, I can say, I am not this aspect of tzaddik, I'm afraid that I'm not there, maybe one day, I hope so. So the first thing Rav Nachman says, he says, when you have true understanding, you're not going to be drawn after physicality in the same way at all. You're just going to use it to serve God. He said that is number one. He said because the first aspect of the instinctual, the Yetzer Hara, the part of us that's like a chemical reaction, whatever's going on in there, in our body, the blood's rushing, where whatever's happening. He said that is a result of not having real understanding. So when you have real understanding, so you can hold on to it at all times. So this is not something, as the Rambam puts it so well, he's like, if you had a racehorse, you would not overfeed it. If you had a racehorse, you would not give it to indulge because it's not good for the horse. You're going to exercise it. You're going to have this. You're going to have that. So why are you doing that to yourself? So he's like, you see that you're not acting in a way that makes sense. The person it doesn't make sense. So that's the first thing. And then, of course, there are many levels in this as well. And then you get to a place where the person really is self-related. He's on a level that he's able to really connect to God in such a way that his physical desires are, they're overcome. At least for now, it can always go back. There's always, Rabbi Yonah says in Shari Tshuva, he says, the negative person always waits, always ready. It's very long-winded, very patient, a lot of patience to wait till we mess up. So we always, person thinks, oh, I did better. I'm not going to mess up my temper anymore. And then comes a year later, it comes 2 years later, it comes 5 years later. And they just blow it, then they notice later, oh, I stopped paying attention, I stopped being careful, I thought I had it in my pocket, and you didn't have nothing in your pocket, you still have the same problems, and you have to be always vigilant, you can always lose it, and the same thing, you can always gain it, you don't know, we always have a choice of where we are, at every second. Am I in a good spiritual place or not? So you can tell it with your pulse. What are you pulsing for? Where are you now? Are you in a place where you want to help somebody, where you want to be a good person, where you want to connect to God, where you want to do something good? You want to make a difference to the world, or are you pulsing for, I don't know, the ice cream, I don't know what, the money, the honor, I don't know, whatever it might be. Your pulse is either one place or another place. It's not going to be like a double. It's either one or the other, and it can be complicated, and it can be subtle nuances to it. But you are where you are. That's where you are. So the first level of what we call a tzaddik, right? It's someone who's overcome these base desires, and he sticks to it, and he holds on to that dust. And again, we have the choice. You hold on to that understanding and that deep self-knowledge, and deep, not just self-knowledge, what we call das tachton, which means applied self-knowledge. It means it's in your bones. It's in who you are. It's part of who you are. I'm not gonna let go of this. And it's the same thing on many levels. Like I'm being careful. So then the next level is a person who's in a place where he has to work out, what should I do, what shouldn't I do. He's dealing only with an angelic aspect. It's really not physical. His physical, he's picked up, he's uplifted. Now it's more, he's doing what we call a malach. He's going to deal with an angel, like we find by Yaakov. Jacob, right? He met a man, right, and they wrestled, and our sages say that was the angel that represented Esau, right, Rome, and these different places, which are the opposite of holiness, the opposite of having a moral feeling and understanding, having a conscience, caring about somebody else, not just like being illogical and being in a box and being some kind of a Spartan or I don't know what, different things that are not spiritual in a way that's not about me. Spiritual is about me, that's idolatry. Like the Maharal says, spirituality, which is about me only, which is like, well, you do everything that you want to do, you do it because you're into war. So everything you do is to strengthen your prowess as a warrior. You're into love. Everything's about love. Anything that you do in that, when you're a religious idolater, and those years when that time was, anything you did that didn't increase your karma, or whatever you want to call it, in terms of dealing with your main point, was a waste of time. And anything that did connect you to that was what you were here for. That was the main point. But it was all about the other person doing it, me, giving it to me. It's not about picking up and uplifting other people and being who I'm supposed to be because that's what I'm here for. It's not about. It's about overcoming, focusing on certain deep self-knowledge, so parts of myself. Every person we have a good part, we have a bad part. That's why in antiquity they separated it. So well, you either have good deities or you have bad deities. Like, who am I dealing with? Is it good? Is it darkness? Is it light? So we say no, darkness and light, they come from one God, and you have certain parts of you that we all know you need to overcome. That's like the animal in the person, the anger and the jealousy, unless it's in the right place, the right way. So, you can be jealous of someone, like, get yourself to move. You don't want to pull him down. Like, I'll use that to get myself to move. You can be jealous of someone, you want to knock him down. So it depends how you use it. Same thing with anger. A person will be angry, have, like, righteous indignation. It's a good kind. It's like, I have to do something about this. This person needs help. We have to help them. You have to use it for good. There are parts of us which we know we're supposed to use for better. That's the better part of us. The kindness, the understanding, the spirituality. It's a very, the Alter of Kelm says that imagine a matchmaker. Something very interesting about this duality that every person has. You imagine a matchmaker. This person, he tries to put together somebody who is this guy who is completely, totally involved in material things. He likes sports, especially contact sports. He likes fighting. He likes things of this world, mechanics. That's his whole head all day. That's all he's interested in. Anything else he just doesn't care about. And very into food, very earthy guy. And you have this girl who's like, she's just very spiritual. She likes culture, art, poetry, all this stuff that he has no relationship to. Try to put them together. So, I have a friend who unfortunately, was divorced after a few months of marriage. And, like, at the engagement, he's like, oh my gosh, I don't think this is going to work. This is not enough. I can do this. I don't think she's appropriate. And he's like, people heard who they put together. And they were like, you can sue the matchmaker. Like, she's crazy. How could you, or he, I don't even know. How you put the two of you, it didn't make any sense from the beginning. So, it's like, the ultimate count was like, nobody would put these two people together. The very, very earthy guy and the girl, like, he's on firearms. It's just who he is. It's what his, and she's like into completely different stuff. She can't stand blood, like the ideal blood, the ideal. This is not, she's somewhere else. She hardly eats anything. She's very, very different place entirely. You would put them together. He said, when you look at a human being, That is every human being. Every human being is a combination. We're all this very, very complex darkness and light. And from our perspective, they're both true. And when you have something deep down that talks to you, it's telling you something, and it has a validity if it's channeled in the right way. If it's not channeled the right way, it can be very bad. But if it's channeled the right way, it has a validity. We have to learn how to use it right and how to focus it in the right way, in the right place. So like, we all have these two aspects. When a person overcomes the lower aspect, is using it right. When we say you're serving God with both the good, with your entire heart, I should say that means both the good part and the not such good part, the drive part, the other part, which is pushes. Like if you don't have the Yetzer Hara, the Zohar says if you don't have the negativity, that part of you that's more earthy and more driven and wake up and being full, whatever, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to get anywhere. You have no drive. You have no drive. That's just the way it is. You're not going to be able to pray with fire like the Zohar. You're not going to be able to learn in a deep way. You're just not going to delve. You're just not going to have that. That capacity is the negative, as it were, side, but you have to use it for these things and other positive things and not for negative things. So the Tzadik has overcome this part of himself. He's overcome this part of himself, and he's moving forward. Now, when a person does that, he creates something very special. What he does is he makes a channel in the world that stays. What that means is that when a person is able to really overcome the negative and to bring down his own, because every person, we all have a different way of looking at the world. We all see things differently. We're all a different combination of a lot of different things. There's no such thing as cloning a person. We're all different. You can find people who are similar, but it's not going to be exactly the same. We all reveal godliness in a very different way. So when this person actually picked himself up and really connected, so that creates what we call a reshima. That means a trace. That means that leaves anything holy and good is forever. The Zohar says, that means there is no good desire even that's ever lost. Every good thing is forever. So what that means is when a person really works so hard and change themselves, transform themselves to this extent, they make a very powerful channel to connecting to God. That's what they do. So when you come into contact with someone like this, or someone who's connected in contact with such a person, they can really pick you up completely. So Rabbi Nachman's like, okay, so now how do you determine which tzaddik is the highest tzaddik? Let's say, so yeah, right, we can't figure out ourselves. We talk to the people and they're like, he's holding, this one says this one says that. There's got to be some kind of way of figuring out who's really holding. And of course, again, I will stress, any person at any time, I'll just say, don't believe in yourself till the day you die, because there was even a high priest, a very righteous person who at the end of the day just fell away from the true path of enlightenment, what we would call the being really sincere, he got half, became spiritual light. Even he was like a high priest, going to the Holy of Holies in the temple, and the Talmud of the Yerushalmi says that, it says in the verse, no man will be in the Holy of Holies at that time, and the Yerushalmi says that means that the high priest had to reach the level of an angel or he died. That was just the way it was. And he did this 80 years, and he still fell away, became spiritual light. And he said, no, he messed up. So you can always mess up. You can have this das, this understanding you're holding your whole life, and at the last second, whoops, whoopsie daisy, goodbye. And that's why, again, our sages say he became a tzduki. This aspect, the Maggid explains that Stuki means, the Maggid was the student of the Baal Shem Tov. He says that Stuki means a person who thinks he's righteous. When you think you're righteous, it's one of the things it could mean. When you think you're righteous, you're in trouble. You have to know that when righteous, there is such a thing as you know yourself, but on the other hand, you know it's all from God, and you hold on to that humility. If you don't have that, it's not going to be so easy to hold on to your spiritual level and to maintain that deep connection. But so it's possible always to change, but you have a person, that's why our sages say that God does not completely put his name on any person until they die, because he got through it and he's okay. Now when a person's here, obviously it's much easier to connect. The person who's here, you can talk to them, you can deal with them, that's obvious. But there is such a thing that God puts His name on somebody when even if the person is very righteous, wait till the end because you could always mess it up. And it's a little bit arrogant in a certain way. It's a little inappropriate in a certain way to try to put yourself forward and say, I am, and like, who said you are? Well, we hope you'll make it. You'll hope you're to such an extent. I want us to know like who and when, but that's the bottom line of things. So like when I'm dealing with a person who's a tzaddik, let's say this person maintained his connection to God, right? How do I know who's the biggest tzaddik? So Rav Nachman says it's pretty easy to tell. He said the person who's able to reach someone in a place where he's unreachable. When someone's in a state where she's depressed and deeply depressed, and you can't help her, and you can come along with these deep concepts, and the person's like, wow, this talks to me, this reaches me, this resonates with me, and it's uplifted and changes, transforms. That's the person who's reaching the highest light. Because the highest light is the only light that's capable of reaching someone who's closed off from being influenced. When you have a light that's lower, it's not going to reach this person in the same way. So, okay, so now getting back to the topic at hand. So in terms of going to the grave of a tzaddik, because the person forged a channel of their own original way to bring us closer to God through this pathway, going to the grave is a way of reconnecting to this person's channel. That's why it's very worthwhile if a person goes to the grave of a tzaddik to read, to learn a little bit about what he revealed or what she revealed in the world, to be able to get their what they did, who they were. I'll give you an example which is not well known, that in the deeper works it says that Rizal, Rav Yitzchak Luria, he was a seminal Kabbalist who really gave us a deep understanding of the Zohar in the deepest way. And all of Chassidut and all of the deeper works after him based on what he had to say. Very, very immensely amazing. As Aryeh Kaplan puts it, the most complicated code ever written, because there's so much in that little bit that he gave over in a year and a half. All of Chassidut and everything, the Geroru and all these beautiful, wonderful things, unbelievable teachings, all contained, encapsulated in this amazing way of understanding the Zohar. Really, really special. So, in order for his student Rav Chaim Vital to really grasp this teaching, he needed to drink from what we call the Be'era Shel Miriam. He wanted to give him a drink of this special drink. This what they had in the desert 40 years wandering around. They had this special well that gave them to drink. Now, that well ended up in the Kinneret in Israel. We have this, how to get to it. There's a certain place that's supposed to be there, and if you merit, it comes to you. Now, the deeper works say, how do you get this wellspring to come to you? What do you do? What do you think? What's the kavanah? So it says you have to think that in the merit of Miriam, because the sages say it came in the merit of Miriam. In the merit of Miriam, I want to bring this. I'm drawing this to me, and then if you're worthy, it comes in some way, at some level. If not, well, maybe next time. But like again, you think of what do we know about this person, and you connect and you understand. So this is when we have teachings that are revealed from a tzaddik that are going to help us connect to God, or what to do, or what they had to say, what they revealed. So when we learn these teachings by the graveside of the tzaddik, so that enables us to really connect and really get more of the channel that they revealed in this world. That's one thing that one does after we have the tzaddik. Prayer is also very special. The Chassam Sofer writes that the graves in general, it's kind of like being in a synagogue, in a place that's holy, because it's an uplifted kind of environment. Halachically speaking, from the Jewish law, it's not proper in a cemetery to really do stuff that are involved, what we call mitzvos, to do things that are that a dead person can't do anymore, because it's kind of like flaunting it. It makes them feel, it can make a person feel bad. It's called lag l'rash. It's as if you're kind of like laughing at them and mocking them in a certain way. They feel mocked. When you come in, you're wearing talis and tefillin, you're wearing your phylacteries and your prayer shawl, and like they can't get there. By a tzaddik, that's not relevant, because the person's in a different place. You have to know what to do when. And a regular grade, you can pray and then marry the person. So that's a little bit about what Kivrei Tzadikim, what they mean and what they're about.